So this means we are back on schedule, and the next speaker actually does not need a lot of introduction because it is Filip, and I guess by now you all know who he is. He was a member of LBG Zagreb also some years ago, although he pretends to be more active now with the alumni and so on. And I think he would like to live a 7-weekend day, live life.
7-day weekend.
7 weekend day, yeah, okay.
I think I do maybe already now.
Yeah, okay. So let's see what his ideas in order to achieve that.
So, first some questionnaire to start off. But before that, why is Thomas's name here? So Thomas, can you stand up? Just wave to the audience. Thank you. Sit down, please. Okay, so Thomas is also involved in this project, as are some other people that are not here. So it's not only my idea, as you will see later. But first, a quick show of hands. Who has ever been to a best or bonding training? Okay, good. Most of you. So you'll know some things that I'll mention. Yeah. Okay. So let's see more. What's your experience? But not in a best training. More this kind of classroom style presentation. So think about primary school, think about high school, think about university, and now when you think back at those days, do you remember it as a very awesome learning experience, interesting teachers, or you maybe have some other view of those days and those times spent there?
Depending on the teacher.
Depending on the teacher. So would you say more of the positive inspiring or more of the
just generic distribution? So there are very few very good ones and a lot of average and even I don't know how much bad.
Okay. And how many of the facts you learned in school do you still remember? Should we also do some average knowledge quiz now? No, we want. Who knows who is this guy? Oh, good. So, somebody shout the name?
Ken.
Sir Ken. Okay, and what is he famous for?
It's TED Talk.
What?
It's TED Talks.
TED Talk, okay, about what?
Education.
Education. And what about education?
Kills creativity.
Kills creativity, exactly. So he claims that the standard education today kills creativity, and that it might have been important some years ago, some maybe centuries ago, when we needed a lot of workers, but today we live in a different world where we need creative people to have new innovative ideas. And he has been working in UK to actually make changes in education, and yeah, he's the guy I would like to have give me my education instead of most of my teachers. Okay. And who knows this guy? Oh, one. Okay. What's his name?
Salman Khan.
Great. And what is he famous for?
Khan Academy.
Khan Academy. Okay, so he started a project of just teaching his nephews, I think, math and this kind of stuff online, and realized that it's a cool way to do it, interactively and modern and so on. And now he has a site with thousands of lectures on common things that you need in primary and high school, and they're interactive, and you have tests and quizzes, and yeah, a very cool initiative. And then third guy, you know this guy? I would expect more.
He was free in the first one.
And what's his name?
Christian.
Christian Stans. And what is he famous for?
Founder of Tigro.
Yeah, so the kind of the father of the trainings we talked about in the beginning. So he founded Tigro training committee in Best. Yeah, and this is from an interesting event that you will hear more about later. So, what problem are we trying to solve with our idea? Well, this big gap that you can see here between the classical education that I asked you in the beginning and guys and ideas that are revolutionizing the education world today. So, what are some of these gaps? One would be the availability of we call it the non-formal education. So the trainings, the soft skill trainings, and different kinds of things that we do, for example, in Invest and in other organizations. So today they are either available to big companies that have budgets and HR systems for their employees, or crazy organizations like ours, or somebody that's really passionate about learning and then goes and pays for himself €1,000 training or something, but not really for a common folk, not really for high school students that could also benefit from having some presentation skills, right? And then another problem is that we have some cool methods, practical work, using flip charts, using different visuals and so on, while most of the teachers in the formal education still use the dusty old blackboards and dictating sometimes, okay, now we're going to learn about this and then write it down, blah, 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 and so on. So this is also the gap, the fact that we have methods and there exist cool new methods to learn, but are not really employed in the formal education. And then the third problem is that how many of you here deliver trainings and are some kind of trainers in your organization? So let's say 1/3. And how many of you did do this outside of the organization or student environment? Half of those people. So the idea is we should be able somehow to use our skills afterwards, because they are quite good. As many people that go later in the for example, in bigger companies and get trainings, and then they say that they are in no way better than the ones we had in Best. So why not enable somehow us trainers in Best to continue delivering and to have the career afterwards somehow. So these are the problems that were in our minds, in minds of many trainers in Best for years. And some solutions were coming up, ideas of solutions were coming up, but nothing really happened. Until an event called Trainers Forum, where trainers from different organizations get together. And the last version was in Vienna this year, in March. And there we had a brainstorming about the future and about education in 10 years and so on. And from this, slowly, through some sessions, we realized that this is really an issue. These issues I mentioned before are issues we want to solve. So we started a project that was codenamed Umbrella, because the idea was to build an organization, a company or something, that would be an umbrella over the training system that already exists in student and youth systems. So then we said, let's go to the beach and have some cool time. We organized a kickoff meeting in July in Zadar, that's in coast of Croatia. And okay, you might imagine that we had some fun time in a beach, but actually we did work a lot. We started by drawing the future, and continued brainstorming about many things. And now I will do a small digression because I want you also to learn something except from selling my idea, and I think this was a very, very, very productive meeting, because it was not a usual meeting where you come to a room and you sit for hours and hours, but we were actually in a very inspiring place. As you can see, we had many sessions outside in the sun, and although people were tired, just the fact that you're in this kind of atmosphere didn't allow them to sleep during the sessions, and yeah, in the coffee breaks we didn't actually have coffee in the room, but we actually went to swim in the sea and so on. So if you have ideas, I suggest you to be creative when it comes to developing them. So to provide an atmosphere where you can actually be creative to develop them, not just sit in a room with a pizza, which is also sometimes necessary and good to just find the fastest way, but maybe step out of it and try to build an atmosphere where many ideas will come up. And that's what we did here, and we really had many ideas, like patenting the finger rules and making a training that we will be selling for finger rule training, like we have MBTI training and this and that, so we have a finger rule training, copyright best, or having a best approved learning facilities, where you would have some certificate if you provide the flip charts and this and that and so on. And I don't know, there were a lot of ideas, but what we focused after a lot of work, a lot of analysis and so on, were two main ones. So on the pyramid of many ideas and many inspirational moments, we chose two. First one that I will mention, I will not go deeply into because I decided to talk only about one now, is X. It's again a code name. We didn't do a lot of work on the branding yet. It stands for Educating High School Students. The idea is we want to somehow do what we envision to do, and that's to bring education to the further masses than just students and just expensive company employees, big company employees. So first step that can be easily done from our point of view, and that's as ex-student trainers, is to go to high school students. We want to go even further to primary school students, but we believe that at this moment, for example, we are not really qualified to do this, because when you work with kids, you need to learn some more methods and so on. But high school students are almost students, a bit less mature and less alcohol involved. But
last night in the lobby.
yeah. So basically, the idea here is that we do some events, do some trainings where they would learn. I mean, wouldn't it be cool that already in the high school you knew how to present and I don't know how to work in a team and some kind of cool things like this? But the idea I want to talk more is the platform. So we've talked about this already a year before in the first version of Trainers Forum. But now we believe that with this umbrella we can really achieve something. And I was very happy to see Steen's presentation yesterday when he mentioned the business model generation canvas, if you remember, because that's the exactly thing we employed in meeting in Zadar. We used that model and we analyzed both of the ideas, both X and the platform, to see how they would work. So what would be the platform? Well, it would be a place where the trainers, so NGO trainers, professional trainers, freelance trainers, and also teachers and students could collaborate, exchange information about education, share ideas, network, find trainings, and so on. And it would be an online platform, of course. What else would be most important? We have the "Don't be evil" motto taken from Google. I don't know what's the copyright issue here, or is there any? But imagine And now I will do a typical cliche in the entrepreneur world. Imagine a Facebook for trainers and students and teachers and so on. So basically an online platform where you could gather materials, of course, that are in common knowledge, patent, whatever, and gather students that are interested. So both as a trainer, you will be able to have a profile and somehow, I don't know, present yourself and your credentials and your trainings that you did. And now some trainers might think, but we already have this in private area. Yeah, exactly this what you have already in private area. We take it out and make it available for all the other trainers out there. And then also have the possibility to promote the trainings outside and to get students. But then again, for the students as well to follow their development. So you go to one training and then you see you get applied, you apply there, and then it's somewhere in your profile. So basically, in some 5 to 10 years, maybe this will be something that you could, use as a reference when you go to employees. Say, okay, but I went through these trainings, and also this system might, as you develop, promote you. Okay, these kind of trainings and these kind of events and so on. So basically, it would be a place to follow your educational development. So, of course, we had some bumps in the road during this development. First one was not really being sure how to do this. Should this be a non-profit organization or a profit organization, a company? Because it's an idea that could really benefit from being non-profit, because then we would be subjected to many funds from European Union as such. But on the other hand, the platform idea itself could be also a very good business model, because it could be free, for example, for non-profit organizations, but it could be something to sell to professional trainers and professional training companies and so on. There are different models that could be applied there, because there are already many platforms that offer virtual classroom thingies, and they work as a business model, so we could imply something like this. Another bump in the road is that we were a very diverse team geographically. We were 12 in this event from 7 different countries. So most of the communication is the best style communication, online communication. But when you're working and when you move from best kind of life, it becomes more complicated. So it moved rather slow, especially after the event where it was all hype or high energy. Later it moved a bit slow. So now we are trying to continue this development more locally. So have groups locally meet and then share ideas together and the results. And then resources as well. Again, all of us are working. None of us is really ready at this moment to quit their job and focus on this full time. So we do require some more resources here. So what is the future? What are our plans? Well, for the education high school project thing, we plan to have local events. Tallinn is the first, probably, that will for sure happen, because we have the most people there and they already started working on this. But probably Budapest and Zagreb as well, because we have some resources there. So the idea of having students and trainings for them in those cities. And then for the other thing, basically, the plan is as well to launch something by the spring of 2012, which would be initial. I mean, what I presented you in that business model is a big idea. What we want to start with is something that would be only for trainers. So, in the beginning, the student aspect would probably be too much to develop at the same time. So, we want to start with the trainers, provide more or less kind of similar things that we have inside private area, but also for other trainers, because that's the idea, that's the feedback we got also the year before, when we demonstrated the things, the tools we have for trainers in Best. All the other organizations were like, we want this. plus some things that neither we have, for example, automatic making of the schedule, as somebody mentioned in the previous presentation. Like if you would focus only for the teachers, then you could maybe have this. Well, that's what we wanted to focus only for the teachers. Yeah, so that's the plan. And first step, one of the first steps was presenting here. Hopefully we'll have more presentations in some other entrepreneur events. And hopefully you will help us spread the word and maybe even join. I know that there might be some people interested here in this. So I hope our project will benefit a lot from this event. And this is, as we have the umbrella code name, we also have a work in progress logo for the moment.
Good questions? Okay, I will write them down, but I'll start with Sabine.
Okay, so just let me comment a bit on the trainings for high school. I heard this idea before, it's not new. But Bucharest is doing for several years a week of trainings for the students in the university. There's like best trainings for all the students, not just for besties, and it works very good as far as I understood for them. It's a whole week of trainings, and this year or last year, I don't know, they had a big discussion about doing the same kind of a week of trainings for high schools, and they had a lot of arguments pro and con, and in the end, after everybody discussed so much about it, they decided it's not worth to do it. So that was what happened in Bucharest about high school.
So talk to Bucharest to hear why they...
Yeah, I don't know the exact details because I was not in the meeting, but I know the outcome.
Okay.
My question is, sorry.
Next one is Gwen.
Sorry.
Yep, about your doubt regarding being an organization or a company, you could actually do both. One for the grant part and the other one that is more on the platform, technical part, and then you can provide service to your organization. So no question, just suggest.
Thank you. That's kind of what we also at some point realized that probably is the solution. But for example, we wasted a lot of time, not wasted, made wasted in the lean mean startup methodology, but that's an issue that we focused. And one more thing I would like to say as a positive thing for the business model, I really, generation, the canvas thing, I really liked it because although it didn't answer all of the questions, it for sure popped up a lot of questions that we might have not thought of before. So when we started putting everything together, we realized, we have to actually think about this. And maybe we didn't have answer at that moment, but we at least knew the question, so it helped us.
Two fingers from
I like very much the idea, and I want to reply on what you are saying, because there are some legal structure that officially are non-profit, but you are allowed to do commercial business, and you can remunerate the people working for it. So you could be at the same time be able to apply for grant because you have a non-profit status, but you can have commercial activity to sell your platform and to remunerate the people that are participating. For example, in France is the association law. Best is under the non-profit scheme, but you have a scheme that when you can have the commercial activities.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention on the revenue side in your business model. You were talking about grants and subsidies and so on. But indeed, what wouldn't allow you to ask for fees?
Well, this is kind of the services, selling services as well, so it's here.
Okay. Maybe not for public schools, but for private schools.
I have Peter, but I think there were some more fingers. Peter?
I feel that this is a much more closed world than the universities. I see two issues to be resolved. One is that the teachers, which you have to cooperate with, I believe, are very much uninterested giving away their main job. Even if they agree, it will be better, but it's very difficult. And the other thing is that in many countries, the students are already overloaded, so they don't want to start something. Obviously, on the long term, they would understand that this is beneficial, but how you can break into their tight time schedule.
Anya?
I've got something to say, not about marketing, but about teaching thing. Yes, I was quite shocked when you said that you think that most of the teaching done at the moment is the teaching has been done 10 years ago, because this is not the case. I don't know whether you checked that.
Sorry, can you repeat?
You were talking about formal teaching, in high schools and primary schools. And the thing that I'm getting at, because I've got a friend, and my sister is a teacher, a primary school teacher, and there are changes too to formal education. And at the moment, the teaching world itself, or the teachers that they're developing, it's not, at the moment, it's not done yet. So there are a lot of schools who still do not do this, but especially in primary schools, I can say that because my son just got into school. Everyone is talking about project teams and Montessori-style education. I don't know whether you know that. And so this will be your competition as well.
I wouldn't call it a competition, I would call it a partner.
Okay.
Because we want to be part of the change.
Okay, so I just want to know that, and there are, at least in Germany, there are a lot of, educational issues, there are a lot of companies jumping that trend. So there are a lot of, especially for high school students, there are a lot of companies, for example, McKinsey is offering that you enter into at schools and you teach them about natural science, engineering and natural sciences, and you're doing that in a project way. That is, I don't know why they're doing it, but that's a project for them.
Because they are more expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. They probably want to get. Actually, what the aim is, I think, is that you get more engineering students. So that's when they're teaching about mathematics and natural sciences, and they're doing it as a project. That's 2-day trainings, and of course, if they have more money than a local teacher, so it's always a fun project.
So for me, this is only a positive news, because
okay.
it means that we are going in the right
Yeah,
direction.
absolutely doing, but it's
the market is still so big that
Yes.
we had to place.
Yeah.
I have a question. To what extent are you working together with other organizations?
Well, we involved by promoting the idea all of the organizations that have stronger training systems. In the end, in the event, we had only one other organization, the psychology students, because nobody else could come. We had 2 potential people coming from bonding, but in the end, none of them came, and so on. So we want to involve others, for sure, because from the Trainers Forum this year and last year, we realized that, for many years we were so close, best alone, and we couldn't learn so much from the other organizations as well. So, yeah, we are trying to involve everybody, but
Because in itself, the umbrella idea is, there exists an organization with all trainers from all European student organizations, and it exists for 3-4 years.
You mean Salto?
No, I mean Zero Generation. Which is
okay.
responsible for LSS and some more projects.
Yes. We know about them. They are also some of them are on our list as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Just a question. Are any bondings on your mailing list?
Yes, as well.
Okay.
Yes, John.
But you can join.
No, I just want to make sure that anyone.
No.
Yeah, yes, I want to, but I would just want to make sure that everyone is.
My question is, do you want to make money with this, or do you want to enable trainers to make money with this?
Mostly enable trainers to make money through this. I'm a trainer as well, so I will make money by being a trainer in the platform.
All right. Okay. So that kind of answers the non-profit or profit thing, I think, because that kind of clears out the status. But the other question
but
is,
you asked me, so
Yeah.
this is something that we still didn't decide completely, So.
Okay.
Yeah. But for sure, we for sure want to enable trainers to get money.
Yeah, and
The question is, do we want to also?
And for these trainers to get money, what's the certification for it? Is it just within BEST, within bonding, within these organizations?
Okay, so that's one thing we talked about as well. It's not developed completely yet, but the idea is so that this platform and the whole idea should be a step up from what you do in your organization. So basically, we're going to set up a kind of rules that you can come to the umbrella and take the advantage of the platform and of everything by first becoming a trainer in some other organization that we recognize, like BEST, like Bonding, like AIJA, and so on. And you will also have to, for example, provide some hours there so that we don't take resources from the organizations, because we don't want to, you go to TREP and then you go immediately to Umbrella because you can earn money there and invest you can. So this is kind of the idea.
There are first two fingers.
Just a small comment on the previous thing about non-profit or profit organization. Because anyway, when you do something, you have to cover your costs. So anyway, you have to do business plan. Mm-hmm. If you take all the money out, if you see it as a business opportunity to earn money with that, this is actually a different question.
Yeah. I mean,
so you shouldn't focus on that too much.
Yes. Even if we are non-profit, we can even pay salaries. It doesn't mean we cannot have salaries if we are non-profit. It just means we don't have extra profit.
I just had a quick thought on the trust issue. This is actually the same as Minku, when having, this is if you open the platform for customers later on, and you have to make sure they know something about the trainers. So maybe you should try to think about it.
We thought about this. Okay. You cannot imagine how many things you can think about in 4 days in Tzadek. What we wanted to apply here is the kind of I don't know if you know the geeks here, Stack Overflow mode, where you basically, it's a platform for answering questions to whatever, but how you advance there is that the more you're active, the more rights you have. So in the beginning, you can, I think, only give an answer or something like this, but then later, only post a question, but then give an answer and then rate other answers as well, and you grow as you're active. So the idea is here as well. At some point, it will be open to everybody, but in the beginning, you will first have to contribute more before you will get some benefit, and then the more you contribute, the more you will get the benefit from the. So that's kind of how the quality will be ensured.
Okay. Thank you.